Hello, this is meant to be a bit similar to what Kilan was presenting with ugly debugging, but here I'm reducing the scope a bit and I will just talk about writer. The main message is that there are a number of layers that can contain the problem you are hunting for. Basically, the recommended strategy is that you don't really go too deep in each layers, but you visit those layers. And once you are more confident that this is the area which is problematic, then you can go deep there. And this strategy usually leads to actually finding the root cause and not just piling up hacks on top of hacks. So first we have the document model level. This is just some sample document where we had a strange problem that the second paragraph was bold, but only in case there were some extra words at the end of the paragraph. If that was there, then the first part was bold, so this looks good. But if those extra content was not there, then not. And you know, boldness is such a basic feature that how this is possible, this goes wrong. And once you turn on this document model debugging, hopefully I have a little bit more time than that. I know everyone is desperate for the break, but please give me a few more minutes. So there is some environment variable which you can enable to dump the currently loaded document model to a dump, and then you can analyze that, and that can actually lead to understanding how this goes wrong and what's the problem, and we can fix it. It's possible that the document model itself looks good, and there is some higher layer which contains the problem. This is some other very minimized document where there was some a combination of change tracking and anchored images and content controls. And if you manage to use these three in combination in some unfortunate setup, then something bad happens, like we fail to load the document, which is quite rare. So this is somewhat exciting. And in this case, the problem was at this higher level, the scripting API level. And this was possible to find either in Collabora Office, there is a tools, development tools deck at the bottom that shows you various paragraphs and the portions of one paragraph and so on. Also, you can play around with macros, and in case the problem itself is in this layer, then that's one tool that you can use to hunt down where the problem to be fixed is. Another level is, let's say you have, we talk about writers, so the most frequent format is docx, and it can happen that something is in the docx import itself. So the created document model is already bad, and it's not, the problem is not in writer core. It's like, as we open the file, something already goes wrong, and everything is just a consequence of that. In that case, it can happen that there is another debugging tool for dumping the traffic in between two parts of that docx importer. This is split in two parts because then we can share code with, for example, RTF. And you can dump the traffic between these two parts, and based on that, you can decide if you want to go further, like forward or backwards in this import pipeline to find where is the root of the problem. Now, what the most time-consuming is then when the import process is working nicely, the document model looks nice. You don't obviously see a problem when you play around in macros, so that's the layout problem, which can be exciting. You can have a combination of some unfortunate details when the layout goes wrong. One way to debug that is that the same environment variable can be set for dumping the document model and the layout, just with different keystrokes. You create a node dump, which is the document model, or the layout dump, and then you can get a dump of the document where you have these frames, like frames everywhere. That's layout for you. So you have a page frame, and then for paragraphs, you have the text frame and the header frame and the body frame and so on. And in many cases, the problem is that we miscalculate these frames. And once those frames are fixed, then the actual rendering is quite easy because we paint based on where these frames are. So that's this layout dump is something I use a lot. And the last level is that it can happen that something looks good in the document model level. The document itself, if you print it, it looks nice. But you go to the user interface, and let's say this paragraph has no explicit indentation, and you go to the UI and you see that there is some 10 centimeters of indentation, and you don't really understand that. And that can be a UI bug. It can even happen that there was a UI bug, and now you fix the rounding error, something goes wrong, because previously some notification was missing, but due to the rounding error, we assume that something got changed. So you fix the problem just to uncover something else. But at the end, in dialogues, you can always inspect what's the incoming set of properties and what's the outgoing set of properties. In the online case, you can always open DevTools in Chrome, and you can see what are the incoming and outgoing WebSocket messages. And based on that, usually you can put together like what's the problem. So I guess that's mostly it. What we learned in the past several years is that it's good to not go very deep at the first possible reason where it might be the problem, because then you can easily spend lots of time in that area and it might not be the right one. So it's good to do check multiple layers and only then go deeper. It's useful to produce minimal public reproducer documents, because then you can use that for test cases, and it does pay off to find the root cause and fix that root cause instead of piling up hacks, because that's the only way we can do this in the long run. Thanks for listening.